I've become death, the destroyer of worlds. I'm sure we all remember this quote by Robert Oppenheimer, referencing the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II. How about let's be a bit more, the word atomic, meaning relating to atoms. How about let's be a bit more specific? Nuclear, meaning relating to the nucleus of an atom. How does this word make you feel? What do you associate with this word? You're probably thinking something along the lines of devastation and destruction. Although its definition is quite tame, the word nuclear has been written on some of the worst disasters in history. Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Fukushima, and Chernobyl. The world has seen what the word nuclear is capable of doing. Who wouldn't be afraid if one bomb could wipe out an entire city, and now the world's superpowers have thousands at their disposal? Who wouldn't be afraid if one power plant mishap could cause an entire continent to become uninhabitable? And who wouldn't be afraid of invisible cancerous waves? Nuclear certainly doesn't sound like a good idea, does it? We should be staying far away from it. Well, not exactly. You shouldn't have to be afraid. You shouldn't always have to be afraid of what you can't see. Our thoughts of nuclear has been manifested by decades of incorrect media representation and how our brains process trauma. Let's go back to Chernobyl. Most people think they know what happened. A power plant exploded, and now suddenly 300 square kilometers have been rendered uninhabitable for the next 20 millenniums. On April 26, 1986, the fourth RBMK reactor at Chernobyl exploded. The radioactive materials were exposed to open air, with radioactive contaminants spreading as far as North America. The molten mass threatened to seep into the ground, threatening to contaminate the entirety of Europe's water supply. It's easy to look at the giant mushroom cloud in the sky and scream. That's quite an understandable reaction. But it's much more important that we pick up the scraps and piece them together to find out what actually caused this accident. And when you do this, you actually find out that it wasn't the fault of nuclear energy, but rather the fault of stupid engineering and idiotic operations. The main fault was the engineering of the RBMK reactor. In essence, a nuclear reactor requires fission reactions to generate energy. You want to control the amount of fission reactions happening. Too much fission reactions, and the reactor threatens to explode. Too little fission reactions, and the reactor's power level falls, and the reaction threatens to stall. In order to keep this balance of reactions, a nuclear reactor uses a series of control rods, some decreasing reactivity and some increasing reactivity. However, for some reason that violated the rules of common sense, the control rods designed for decreasing reactivity in the RBMK reactor had tips of graphite, which increased reactivity. So when the operators at the RBMK reactor hit the scram, the emergency power button, instead of decreasing reactivity immediately, for a few milliseconds, reactivity shot through the roof. But this few milliseconds is all that was needed for this disaster to occur. But let's think about, why was the scram button needed to be pressed anyways? Well, during a regular safety test, the reactor's energy levels fell. And instead of doing the right thing, the smart thing, the understandable thing, of slowly adding new control rods in, the operators, for some reason, decided to put every single control rod in at the same time. And that's what caused the accident we know now as the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Are you feeling better about nuclear yet? Nuclear, I hope it's now clear that you shouldn't be scared of nuclear, but you should be scared of idiocracy. Here's a statistic that I hope will shock you. Nuclear energy has a deaths per terawatt hour statistic of 0.03, whereas fossil fuels, our dominant energy source, has a deaths per terawatt hour statistic of 24.6. Keep in mind, this is factoring every single death from Fukushima and Chernobyl in this statistic. So why are we scared of nuclear, but we aren't scared of fossil fuels? It's largely related to how our brains process trauma. Large, big, sudden events are much more noticeable than small, cumulative events. When nuclear energy goes wrong, it goes wrong fast, it goes wrong big. Nuclear disasters cause damage on a timescale of only a few days. When it does go wrong, it's broadcasted across the entire world. Everyone knows it. The thought of nuclear energy lingers in their minds. The thought that that radioactive contaminants could be seeping in through their windows, could be in their house, could be in the air, in their very lungs. When fossil fuels goes wrong, however, it goes wrong every day. People die in fossil fuel power plants every day. This is normal, this is to be expected. But when it goes wrong, it doesn't get broadcasted because one death doesn't concern the entire world. With such little media representation, it's obvious how fossil fuels wouldn't garner the same attention as nuclear, even though when you crunch the numbers, fossil fuels actually causes 1,000 times more death than that of nuclear energy. The fear of fossil fuels has also become so normalized. I'm sure we've all heard the climate change talk over and over again, to the point that we aren't even fazed by the word climate change, even though it's such a big thing and we should care lots about it. In the end, it's easy to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. Some concepts are simply dangerous enough that they warrant our attention and caution. But it's much more useful to not be afraid, to learn. We can't let our fear guide our pursuit of knowledge. The first caveman who discovered fire probably got burned. At the end of the day, it's okay to be afraid, but it's much more useful to humanity that we adapt, we overcome, we learn, we study, until even the most deadly sciences can become yet another tool for humankind. Thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.